I've got some sad news to start out the show today. The Marvels is finishing its box office run as the lowest performing Marvel movie in MCU history.
How is that sad news? This is actually something to rejoice about.
My sarcasm is not showing as well with the lack of energy right now.
Yeah.
So, the lowest box office in MCU history. Disney
80 million domestic, 197 globally.
Yes, and Disney has essentially said that they're giving up on it. So this is from Variety. It says, after 4 weeks on the big screen, the comic book tentpole is running out of steam with $80 million in North America and just $197 million globally. That means it's probably going to finish its run barely breaking $200 million on a budget of $220 million. There would typically be optimism that attendance could rebound over the busy holiday season, but Disney apparently doesn't expect that to be the case. The studio wrote on Sunday in a note to the press, quote, with the Marvel's box office now winding down, we will stop weekend reporting of the international global growth. So they're like, we're done.
If this were a child of Disney, he's disowning it,
yes.
basically.
It's the redheaded stepchild.
This is the wayward son of Disney.
It is. It's the redheaded stepchild of Disney now. It says the film isn't leaving theaters just yet, but here's the thing. We're going to be having Aquaman coming to the box office soon too. And one of the things that's funny about that is they were thinking about it, and they've had some decent, like other than 2020 when the theaters were closed, 2021 you had Spider-Man No Way Home over the holidays, huge box office draw. 2022, you had Avatar, The Way of Water, huge box office draw. This year they've got Aquaman. And that's
for DC,
and that's really it. So the Marvels fell to 11th in the box office this week. 11th.
Wait, why are you mentioning Avatar: Way of Water?
Because they said normally around this time of year with the box office winding down, the holidays are a time of year when movies would have more to go on because it's the holidays. More people are going to go.
We got a $20 from Not That Jon Stewart. Hi Brett, hi Mary, happy Monday. Let's go. Truly, Let's Go is picking up.
Yes. I'm looking to get Jessica. If Jessica's watching here, I know she's in the Slack. I'm looking to get Let's Go mugs made. Because what better rallying cry for your day at work is a question mark at the end of Let's Go. Like, I guess there's Let's Go, but then there's also Let's Go.
It's the perfect amount of uncertainty and enthusiasm.
Exactly. So the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania opened with worse box office reviews than this, or with worse reviews, but
From
still
critics?
made over $400 million all in.
That is a puzzle to me in and of itself, having watched it. Don't understand.
Yeah, it says the Marvels opened November 10th with just $46 million domestically to land as the worst debut. And it was bad from day one. It fell to number 3 in its second week, if you remember. It fell behind Hunger Games, as well as, Napoleon beat it at the box office.
Yeah.
So it had nothing going for it. And it shows you that people are sick of the AstroTurf. The other thing that's interesting about this, and the other reason I mentioned Aquaman before, is that one's tracking at under 50 million for its opening. It's like 32 to 40 million or something like that. That might have changed by now. But both of these movies were billion-dollar movies when their originals came out. Captain Marvel made over $1 billion. Aquaman made over $1 billion. I don't know if Aquaman will end up doing better overseas than we're anticipating, but the Marvels certainly didn't. I don't know if it could be that the Marvels didn't appeal to any of the foreign box office. Jason Momoa might still have strong appeal overseas, though it's not going to make $1 billion by any sense of the imagination. I think it's actually probably going to be worse than Captain Marvel, because when it comes to DC, they're throwing all of this stuff away anyways to start over with James Gunn.
Yeah.
So none of this really matters. And then we all remember on Friday we discussed Bob Iger essentially throwing everyone else but himself under the bus for the failure of the movie. And the filmmaker, the guy who made Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Peter Ramsey, has now essentially said that he finds what Bob Iger said to be an astounding level of BS. I was wondering why he would say that, given that he worked for Marvel. But since it was a Spider-Verse movie, that means it was a Sony film.
So he's good. He doesn't really sound like he wants to be part of what Disney is doing with the MCU. He said that Iger just has to sound like he's got an answer.
That's true, though.
Everything he said in that interview with at the Deal Book Summit. It just sounded like something that he scripted with a team beforehand, and he had to be told what all the questions would be beforehand. And he was just floundering. Like, everything he said was passing the buck off for all their mistakes off to Bob Chapek, or off to COVID, or off to the strikes.
Or
you can only
lack
blame
of
other people and other circumstances for so long when you just have to take responsibility.
Yeah, he says when one fan pointed out Thor: Love and Thunder could have done with a little bit more supervision on set, Ramsey argued, "How do you know that it wasn't supervision? How do you know that it wasn't supervision that caused what you don't like about it?" He says later he shares his opinion. Nothing happens on those movies without a lot of scrutiny from Feige and Marvel. He's right. One thing that was funny about this is, like, every day you get the dailies back. It's not like they don't have instantaneous access to exactly what the hell is going on these projects. So when they make those claims, it's really baseless. They're really just throwing the buck around and banking on the idea that you or I don't understand anything at all about how film production works. But that's not the case. And it's not just Captain Marvel. It's not just the Marvels or Marvel Cinema or Marvel's Cinematic Universe that's failing right now. Disney as a whole is not doing very, very well. Oh, we've got a $20 one here from
ESO something. Hello, PCC. You make my Mondays lit. Reminder that Bob Iger is out of touch on another level. Advanced boomerism. He needs an official diagnosis.
Yes, we're gonna have to. Do we have any doctors in the PCC chat that can diagnose him?
Can we treat his
boomerism? But it's not just that. Wish is also failing. So this is per Deadline. The Wish box office has not picked up after its disappointing opening in the second weekend of its domestic run. The movie is projected to take in an additional $7 million. That marks a 64% drop, making it even worse than Strange World, which had a 58% drop. And what I find very interesting is the level of which Disney has become a cultural issue beyond just movies. Like, we're discussing the box office, we're discussing the movies, but Tim regularly on his show, or other people who work in the culture war or are just political pundits, all seem to have something to say about what's going on with Disney, because Disney carries such tremendous influence with the culture. Like, I was looking at a bunch of videos over the weekend when I was trying to find some stuff for the intro of the show, and I was shocked by how many videos I was getting that seemed to be like astroturfed of people at Disney World, right? Like
influencers that are paid to promote Disney World.
No, it could not be astroturf, because, like, look, just because my algorithm looks the way it does because of what I do for work, that could speak to why it is that way, right? But they're fighting a losing battle where they put all of this money into promotion. They put all this money into all of these things that don't matter, when it feels like they make it harder for themselves by not just focusing on making good movies, which is the best advertisement you can make for a company, right?
What I saw after Wish came out, and what was actually kind of encouraging, is that people who have no ideological opposition to Disney are still fed up with their shit and how they're so arrested with cognitive dissonance. They hated Wish because it was a bad movie, not because of all of the ideological propaganda that was in it as well.
We were getting people who were responding to us on our review saying, like, most people liked it. I said the scores don't bear that out.
It's not true. Also, kill two birds with one stone. If you make a good movie, then the people who are ideologically opposed to Disney are going to be pleasantly surprised. And the people who really have this desire to like what Disney is putting out but can't seem to force it are also going to support it. So kill two birds with one stone. Kill the wokeness, and also kill this poor quality and thoughtlessness that goes into these productions at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, $20 super chat here from Gordon Shumway says, Hunt for Red October said it best. Old Soviet primer gave new one 2 letters and said to open each when things went bad. First letter said to blame everything on the old regime. Second letter said to write 2 letters. Yeah, well, and the thing is, what bothers me about that is, like, a CEO is supposed to, like, you make all that money to be you should, I understand that's not how it works in reality. I feel like a CEO, somebody who makes that much money, if they're good at their job, should look to take responsibility for what's going wrong with their company. And I think a little bit of ownership on Bob Iger's part would have gone a long way to helping with this.
Yeah, they really got his ass because, like, kudos to that interviewer. Obviously,
who did their job,
did his job well.
Did not shoot softballs. At
he
this
didn't,
guy.
and when he read that letter that Walt Disney wrote in 1966, quite literally saying it would be a massive mistake to make a sequel to Snow White and to just rely on making sequels that people think they want.
Yeah.
Bob Iger had nothing to say about it.
Yeah.
He had no defense for the reasons that Disney is operating this way, just running on the fumes of IPs that used to carry so much cultural significance and goodwill. He has no defense for the way that they're doing business.
And I want to point out that this isn't just us making these claims. It is no longer possible for the mainstream to ignore these problems either. This article we're looking at here is from Screen Rant. This is as mainstream as it gets. It says there are quite a few possible reasons for the movie's disappointing box office returns. For instance, when Wish debuted on Rotten Tomatoes, it earned a rotten score that was the worst for a Disney animated movie in 18 years. I don't believe that anybody in the world actually looks at Rotten Tomatoes to decide whether to watch a movie or not.
Not really.
At least I personally don't think so. It's become fodder for culture war topics and bots.
Looking at Rotten Tomatoes scores is not reliable to find out the public sentiment around a movie, not just because they've been known to fake reviews, have purchased reviews and bots, but also because the people who are more likely to review these movies are either Disney shills or they're going to hate anything that Disney puts out anyway. So you're not actually getting an accurate view of what people think of it.
Well, yeah, what I've been pointing out is, like, if you look at Disney this year, all of their audience scores were higher than the critic scores because they've cored out their audience so far that the only people that are going and then reviewing these movies for them are Disney fanatics who really, really love it no matter what they make.
People who will tweet justice for Wish.
Yes. This other reason makes more sense to me. So it says, it also comes at the tail end of a year that has seen general audience disinterest allow several major Disney releases to flop, including Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and Haunted Mansion, on top of many others, including, if we're talking about it, if we're talking Disney, that is not just that, we're also talking Marvel. Creator bombed. That was technically Disney, even though I love that movie. It didn't do well. Ant-Man and the Wasp didn't do well. All of these movies aren't doing well. It's the only one they really had that succeeded was what? Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. Guardians of the Galaxy made money. And what was the other? Was there any other ones that made any money this year?
A shill would tell you that Elemental made it into the black.
So that's actually one that's interesting, right? Where there's an interesting argument to be made there because people who watched Elemental, it didn't have the same cultural backlash, so it was able to get good word of mouth and then keep on. But there was no...
Even though, if we're being honest, Elemental was a racism allegory.
But it didn't get the attention that probably because it came out at least somewhat close to The Little Mermaid, right? I would imagine.
Yeah.
So The Little Mermaid got all of the attention at that time, and Elemental was able to slip under the radar and be made. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.